Center for Educational Media and the College of Education at Middle Tennessee State University are proud to offer professional development to K-12 educators in Tennessee through our online video library. These videos are aligned with standards set by the Tennessee Department of Education. For more professional development videos, check out our website at www.mtsu.edu/CEM.
Well, let's move to our next session. So Ms. Allison Evans is here to present. And I don't know about y'all, but I cannot wait to hear about brick by brick using Legos in your counseling program. So professional school counselor, K4, Putnam County, Allie Evans. We're so glad you're here. You were nominated because of your work. So thank you for being with us, and we can't wait to hear. I know we've got bags of Legos out, so let's have fun. Okay?
And right. I do want to kind of give you a little heads up. I will be doing some group activities where you're going to be using those Legos, and the sweet spot is really 4 to a bag. Give 2 at the most, 6 at a bag, and only probably less than 1. So just kind of think in your mind. I've got them placed all throughout, and if we need to kind of rework some of the Lego bags and pass them around, we can do that. But that's coming your way. Just be ready. And after lunch, I figured engagement is going to be key to try to keep you awake. And that's perfect, a perfect segue for Legos, because Legos fixed that problem for me, or at least it addressed it in a very big way. How to get kids engaged in my lessons, in my small groups, and individually. So I'm going to be talking today about Legos, and I feel like it would just be right to kind of tell you my journey with Legos. So when I grew up, Legos weren't really a thing that girls did. They were definitely around. I'm 40, but it wasn't necessarily something that it was a real popular thing. I was doing American Girl dolls and things like that. So I didn't know much about Legos or the benefits of Legos. But then I had a sister who was born when I was in middle school. And so she was significantly younger than me, and I was not very patient because I was in middle school, and she was very anxious and had ADHD. And so to get my sister to have any kind of conversation or to focus on you at all was pretty much impossible unless she had some Legos, and she loved Legos. She would play with Legos for hours. It would be about the only thing you could get her to sit still to do. She's amazing at it, so amazing at it. So that was the start, and I didn't have a counselor mind at that time or a thought process, but when I look back over my recognizing the impacts of Legos, I saw it when I was a 14-year-old with my sister or 15-year-old with my sister. And having that communication piece. So Legos are fun. It's a great medium to use, and it's a fun thing to talk about, and it's a fun thing to use too. I will say that I understand that I'm heavy in elementary school. However, somebody mentioned in the back, right, that even Legos as grown-ups, there's all kinds of TV shows on it right now where people are master builders, and it's just epic and amazing. So I do feel like Legos can go through it all. And as I show you pictures of interventions and things that I've used, I definitely recommend that you think about it in your grade level band, and I definitely think you could accommodate and move it and challenge. The questions could be a little bit different, things like that. And then also, I do want to tell you, I am a list girl. If you tell me to do something this way, I will do it to the best of my ability perfectly, and I like to be that way. So creativity, in other words, is not necessarily somewhere where I'm just shying. If you tell me to make something, it wouldn't necessarily be me to do that. Now, if you told me to make a specific thing, then I'm all about it. So as you collaborate today and think about those things, I know that you're going to have some amazing ideas. When I've talked to any counselors around the state, I'm always just blown away with how creative they are and they're just so stinking good at it. So if you get a great idea today that stems off something I've said, I would love for you to share it with me later and share it with your peers, because I think I'm just scratching the surface of what Legos can do with my own mindset. And using Legos in counseling hasn't been really a big thing. It's not something you can find lots of information about. So it is a niche. If you are an upper grade person and you wanted to use Legos in your program, you could maybe even make some money. Like, you could write a book or something, because it's just not out there. And so think about it that way too. Who knows what's out there for you if you go that route. But I thought it would be good to go ahead and show you some of the bricks that make me professionally, and then also just as a person. So I've been a counselor for 14 years, and I'm in a K-4 school, and I've been there my whole time. Just to give you kind of an idea of my lessons, I am in a rotation at halftime, kind of like what you were sharing with. They don't see me as like they see all the other specials, but they do see me in a very structured way. But it still allows me to do small groups and individual counseling in the other times. So it works really well for me, and I don't have to work with the teacher schedule to try to get them to let me see their kids. I was School Counselor of the Year in 2022, and that's something that I got to go and represent Tennessee at the ASCA conference. It's just so neat. So it's something that I definitely like. Oh, that's such a neat thing, and it kind of is part of me as a counselor. I also received a ramp as my school. My program got ramped, and that was a really big accomplishment, something that I wasn't really, it was out of my mind that I would even try it, but I just went for it, and it worked out. So, and it was a lot of work. And it was also right after COVID year, so it's about to be time to start figuring out, am I going to do that again and all that work again, and what I want to do about that. But some personal blocks when you're building me is I am married. I've been married for 16 years, and I am a boy mom. I'm totally outnumbered. I have a boy dog and boys. If I won the lottery, I would hire a chef and a trainer and really get my act together. But then I would also travel the world. I'd love to see new places and try really good food. And then I am an introvert, so I can definitely talk to people, and I'm not bad at it, but it's gonna drain me. Where some of you guys, you'll leave today and you'll be like, woo, you'll be empowered because you're an extrovert, but I'm gonna be like, oh, and I'll have to really chill before I go home to my boys. And then also something that I didn't know, this wasn't just what everybody did, but I can feel music. It's like almost spiritual. Like, if the music is really good, I feel it through my whole body. And another thing that's kind of, I didn't realize everybody didn't feel pain. When anybody gets hurt, I physically feel their pain. So this is gonna be your first group activity, and this is a great example of an individual intervention you could use, or a small group get to know you activity. You are going to, with your bag of Legos, pick at least 4 blocks. It can be any block. It can be a big block, a little block. It can be a unique, creative block in your bag. But you are going to share 4 blocks of, it can be personal or it can be professional, with people around you. So I'll give you a couple minutes to do that.
So, what are we supposed to tell you?
What about you?
I'm from Murfreesboro. I'm in a private school here in Greenville. Yeah. What about y'all? I've seen White County.
Yes. We're all from White County.
All together?
Yes. Yes.
Very good.
You heard of Sparta?
Yeah.
That's where we're
I have family in Sparta.
Do you? Wow. Next week I'll be married 38 years. Wow.
Another thing, I have a daughter and she's 2. I love reading for fun now. It's new to me because I had really bad dyslexia, and so reading was just like really hard for me because it takes too long.
Sure. I'm a fur mom. I have 2 girls and a boy. Sue Eleanor Bear, Lucille Bombette Ball, and Dexter Terrence Robert.
Hopefully everyone has had a chance to at least tell one Lego about yourself. So I love to hear the conversation, and if I was in a classroom, I would be doing that, or a small group. I might help model some follow-up questions for a small group, or I might say, does anyone else in this group have a dog? Yeah, I have a dog. You guys have that in common. And I'm trying to build some rapport amongst the people. I also love how some of you in your group are very particular about which Lego is going to go with which, and then others are just like, there's 4. And that's how that's how kids are too. You're gonna have some that it will take them a long time to figure out how they wanna process and how they wanna speak about themselves. And then others will be like, it's nothing. So those are things that as you work with Legos, you'll definitely come across. But if you wanna build engagement, this is definitely an option and a way to do it. Let me jump back to my story about my Lego journey. So my sister, she's grown up now, she's married, but when she went to college and she moved out of my parents' house, she had this amazing Lego town that was just amazing. I mean, if you've ever done Legos inside, there's things happening, it's amazing. And she just didn't feel like it would fit her college dorm life. And so I said, well, I could use that in my classroom. I could use Legos and I have this great thing in the back of my room. It's at the top so kids can't touch it, but it's a shelf and we'll keep them up there and it'll look special. And I'll reference it when I talk about careers or something and community helpers. It'll be great. Well, when I got that village in there and my sister had put all the town and she had set it up so thoughtfully, the kids immediately were like, oh, Miss Allie, did you build those? No, I didn't build them. My sister did. She's really good at Legos. I'm really good at Legos too, they would say. And then they would, Miss Allie, are we going to do Legos in here? Are we going to do Legos in your class? And it all of a sudden started to click. My issue of getting these little wonderful monsters to pay attention to me is hard. And they were automatically, I didn't even have to work for it to get them engaged in Legos. So that kind of got my wheels spinning. Okay, how can I use Legos as more than just a reward? Because that's what I had been using it. I had a box of Legos that I'd gotten, and if a student filled out their behavior chart or their attendance chart, they could pick to play with Legos. And it was a very popular pick, but I started to think, is there a way that I could use Legos as much more than that? And I've definitely felt like I have found some ways to make it more meaningful. It is creative. It is something that most kids like. And so it is something that's just automatically, who can use them? Everyone. We've talked about young and old. It is inclusive. I've used it with students in my classroom setting and even in small groups that aren't usually engaged because maybe language is not something that is an easy thing for them. Maybe they're learning another language because they've come from a different country, or maybe they're SPED, maybe they're autistic, and that social communication piece is a struggle. Well, using Legos has all of a sudden helped these kids have a way in on the conversation without having to be that verbal. So I've definitely seen it be beneficial for that. There's also some research for that there's a whole thing, it's Lego therapy, and it's actually using the word Lego therapy, so if you look it up, and it's been used for autistic kids, and it's a group therapy format, and they practice those social skills, and then there's all kinds of other skills that get worked on with OT and those fine motor skills and all those things. So Legos have definitely been used for therapy purposes just outside of counseling. So they're not gender specific. You can act out social stories instead of using a puppet or a picture for a social story. You could have Lego characters. There's really cool Lego characters out there. If you like superheroes, I've got the Hulk, and because my boys are into Legos, so I've got all the superhero Legos that now I get to take to school and use in a social story. But the Hulk is a really good one if you're talking about anger control and controlling your anger and not hulking out on someone. So there are lots of different things that you can use Legos for when it comes to communicating with another person. You put them in their hands and they're automatically more comfortable, just like my sister. She was anxious, she didn't always know what to say or how to control herself, but you put Legos in her hand and she's automatically focused on something else, and it's easier for her to communicate. So kind of the person who is one of the few who does counseling as a school counselor with Legos and has written books about it and things like that is Derek Tolick. And I will say he's got these books and they are great. He's kind of taken a break from Legos. So there's a niche, people. He's moved on to other things. So I'm sure he still talks about it from time to time, but it's not his main focus anymore. But he said, using a play-based approach lets students of all ages authentically practice and develop social skills, self-regulation, and executive functioning skills. Incorporating Lego activities into your small groups or classroom lessons can offer students these beneficial opportunities and growth. All right, so I should have a little caveat. Everyone does not love building blocks. And I'm going to use building blocks and Legos interchangeably. Lego is technically a trademark, so. But as you think about this, and just not to say don't use Legos with these kids, but understand that Legos might be a struggle for some, or it just might be something they're not into. Some kids really struggle with abstract thinking or being creative, like myself. Also, some kids don't like to be vulnerable with others, and I'll reference a situation here in a little bit where a student shared something that was very personal during their build. And those are things that maybe some students are uncomfortable with. So just being ready and prepared for how you're going to handle those types of things, just like you would with any small group kind of setting. Some kids do have fine motor difficulties. My son being one of them, Legos are really hard for him. Now, it's proven that Legos help those little fine muscles in your fingers, and so it's good for him, but it's a challenge for him to push the Legos in and to pull the Legos apart. So keep that in mind if you've got kids that have a 504 for OT needs, that Legos might not necessarily be super enjoyable for them like it would with others. And then that perfection mindset. I have one student in particular that I think about, and when she sees that we're doing Legos, she's like, oh. And it's because she has to be perfect. If her build isn't the best build at her table, she just shuts down. She can't do it. If she can't think of the right thing, right? Because Lego building doesn't have to be right. But she wants to be the right build and know exactly what Miss Allie's trying to say. She struggles with doing Legos and she will just shut down. And it's not fun for her because she's trying to be perfect. What can you use Legos for? The sky really is the limit. I think, like I said, I'm just scratching the very surface, but there's so many ways that you can enhance your lessons and your groups and your individual counseling with Legos. And these are ways that I have done my college and career lessons, SEL standards and lessons, social skills, teamwork is huge in using Legos, feelings and mood regulation. And then also coping skills. And I'm going to be showing you some pictures of that and how I've done that in my lessons. You can use them individually, small group. I've done full Lego groups where it was a social skills group and every week we did a build. And then I've done other groups where one of the lessons was a build. So, and I'll show you an example of one of those lessons here in just a second. And then also whole group lessons. This is really the cake of it that I didn't know or even think about until I started to really stretch my brain to think through, but it has been so impactful with lessons and getting these kids engaged, and then also hopefully staying engaged throughout them. I do for classroom lessons, I don't have them out all the time. I get classes for 30 minutes once a week. So I will do a lesson series, and then at the very end, I will either do a centers rotation where each rotation has a station to help put that into place in their memory and in their hands. And one of the stations could be Lego building. And then also, I love to do Legos before a break. If you come and visit my classroom before fall break, Christmas break, you're probably going to see me doing Legos because good luck getting them to think about or pay attention to anything else. So that is usually when I pull out my Legos. It's like my golden egg or something, I don't know. So I really recommend doing them when engagement is already a challenge. Let's utilize them at that time. So here's an individual example. You guys got to see building yourself with the Legos, but then also I will just have these at my table. So the student won't be building these. I could have them build it, but they're just sitting there, and I might reference, hey, pick one of those and tell me something about that. So it's just having it in their hand and being Lego themed is fun and something kind of different than just sitting with the students on, tell me a bright spot. Well, pick up that sun and tell me a bright spot for the week, or tell me what's something you're hopeful about, or maybe a cloudy moment, and they get to pick what they want to talk about. That's just one example of how you could use it individually. Building can be like anything else, Play-Doh, coloring, any of those things that you know as school counselors is doing a wonderful job that you do. Talking to a student just face to face without something in their hands is really hard to do, and it's hard for that student. Put something in their hands and it's immediately easier and I think better. So it helps also slow down the conversation. It helps the child kind of relax and rest into something they enjoy to do. So a small group example, in one of my small groups, I have a friendship topic where we're talking about how do you build up a friendship, how do you tear down a friendship. And so we'll talk about what kind of things, what words will build up, what will tear down. And then at the end of that session, we will, as a group, try to build the tallest tower. And we're not going to take it apart because we don't want to practice tearing people down. So we're just going to practice building up. So how high can we make the tower go? And each person will take a turn to do like to put a Lego in and build up. How could I build up a friend? And just that's a good review. It's practice. Did they get it? And those kinds of things, like were they paying attention? A whole group example, a way that I've used this with my older kids in class, I've talked about how you have to balance things in your life, and there's certain times when certain things get more attention than others, and if you do sports or clubs or things like that, you need to find balance. And then I showed them some pictures of balance in a picture and symmetry, and then I said, okay, your challenge as a group is to build a symmetry. So I give them the board, and then they have to make it match each, like on both sides, it has to match, and to see what kind of pattern and what kind of design they can come up with. It's a great teamwork activity, and then also it shows that example of having balance. And another example is I do Counselor's Choices at my school, school-wide, and at the end of those lessons I do centers. And one of the tables will be a Lego center, and they have to build a problem or a conflict, and then they talk it out at the table. Which Counselor's choice would you use to solve the problem? So, I mean, can I just take a moment to recognize my graphic that I made? Legos are a match made in heaven when it comes to ASCA mindsets and behaviors. They hit so many of them without even having to think about it. It just is. It's doing these things if you do Legos purposefully. So in the presentation that I'm about to show you pictures of where I've done activities, I'm going to have little highlighted things, and that is an ASCA mindset or behavior that's being addressed in that lesson, just so you can kind of see how it connects. I'm not going to go through all the ASCA mindsets and behaviors, but you'll see them connected with it. And just in general, the mindsets that are addressed in building Legos really nicely work on that positive attitude with work and learning. This is something that a lot of those kids, they do not like school, but they like Legos. And it's a way to kind of connect with that. Also having a confidence to succeed. Again, a lot of those kids who don't love school, maybe school is a struggle, maybe socially struggle, they usually are really good at Legos. And this is an opportunity that I get to cheerlead and say, wow, that is such a great build, good job, that's so amazing. And it also helps them have kind of a sense of belonging. They fit in. Those kids that maybe don't speak much because they're really shy, or maybe they might be disengaged and so they're disruptive, they become engaged when we have the Legos. So here's one of my lessons, and I will reference throughout. These could be used small group, individual, or whole group, but a lot of my pictures that I took over the last couple years have been in a whole group setting, just because I was thinking about like, ooh, I think I'd like to share this someday. So I tried to remember to take pictures. But we did, with my students, well, what happens if you have anger and you don't deal with it? Or what happens if you're so excited and you don't deal with it? What happens if you're so sad and you don't deal with it? It builds, and then it can destroy relationships if you have an anger outburst. And so we talk about how anger is okay, but we have to be able to cope with anger and deal with it. So in just connection, to make it creative, I said, well, let's, as a group, we're going to build a volcano. And so at their table, they were supposed to build volcanoes, and this is what they came up with on their own. If you check out, they've got the lava and the people are running from the town to the boat, and they're all different and unique. I did for this lesson, because a volcano might not necessarily be something all the kids are familiar with. I showed them a picture of a volcano before we started, and I also showed them a couple of Lego builds that I found online of people who have built volcanoes out of Legos, just to kind of get their minds thinking and working. And then also I do lessons on college and career, of course, and then at the end we did a Lego build of a job or a job you think sounds interesting was where I went with it. And so these were some of the builds, again, that were just so cool. I've got a couple slides of these. He's got his construction vehicle up there. And then this one in particular, I remember, I was like, oh, that kid's playing. I'm gonna have to go reteach. So I went and said, hey, tell me about your build. Because you don't know for sure. You wanna make sure before you jump. And the kid said, oh, this is a Coast Guard worker and he's saving their lives. They fell out of the boat. And I was like, I hadn't told him about Coast Guard. I was not expecting him to know about the Coast Guard. And this is a second grader. I was like, that's a great job. You're right, that is a job, good job. So as you walk around, you're discussing, you're talking about it with them. This guy said he wanted to be a woodworker. And I mean, come on, that's crazy. And he just has a box of Legos in front of him and he's making this out of what the options that are in there. This girl said she wanted to be a teacher. And she's teaching them about time. And if you notice, she made sure the little hands were raised so that they could answer questions. And then I love this one too. He's a car salesman. He's literally standing over the car, like showing it to the people. And then a painter with canvas that she built over there. So it's really neat ideas. These kids are so creative when given the opportunity. And then I do kindness lessons, and so I told them, build a kind scene at your table, and this is what they came up with, several of the options. So picking up at a park, picking up the trash. And this one was helping the guy who fell off the bike, and then sharing their ice cream. Then, what are some of your ideas? This is going to be kind of a discussion. I won't spend a lot of time on it, but just to kind of get your creative minds going. Another thing that I do is feeling, identification, and coping. And we use Legos for that. So being that Inside Out is popular right now because it just came out, I didn't include the new characters because they are a little bit more advanced for my group, but you definitely could. How would you utilize this, maybe this movie or just feelings in general, and how would you maybe think about using them with Legos? So at your table, I want you to just think about, how could I use Legos to discuss feelings and feeling recognition? And I'll show you what I did here in a minute, but I'm going to give you 2 minutes at your group to talk.
Thinking I could use Legos because what I have learned is, and I don't know how this would work with older kiddos.
What were the people around you?
I'm thinking is like let them like have a Lego and like just randomly pick out one. So if they picked up something red, be like, okay, so red represents anger. Tell me a time you were angry. But I would make them like try to identify each one of the feelings.
Because we're going to take difference what they think their gender should be. You know what I mean? Like boys say, oh, my favorite color is red and black. And then they don't want to say, oh, my favorite color is pink. So especially in elementary school. So I think that's cool to recognize how impactful color can be.
All right, wrap up your conversation. This will be an opportunity for you to share with everyone. If you had an idea or someone in your group had a really cool idea that you would want to share for all of us to hear. Anybody have any really cool ideas? If not, or if you don't want to share, I'm not going to make you. I'm not one of those people. So, yes.
Our group discussed, like, for this, I know Angela talked about, like, if they can show a scene of when they maybe felt anger.
Yeah.
Or you could switch it of, like, build a scene to show that you, when you kind of, like, regulated from, like, anger to joy, like, how did you do that, like a coping scenario?
Ooh, yeah, I like that. So she said that her table talked about sharing a time, building a scene when they felt angry, or maybe building a scene of how they came out of their anger and then felt joy. That's a great idea. Would anybody else like to share anything you came up with, individual, small group? All right, 1 second, someone's bringing you a mic.
I really don't need it.
Okay. I've used the little Lego dots, and I found that a lot of people don't know what those are. But they're little bitty small pieces that just barely cover the circles on the base plates. And I use those with my high school students where they can create a picture or something more artistic. If they're not builders, they may be artists. And so they can create that way and sort of illustrate how they feel or what they're thinking or something like that.
That is neat. So it's kind of like a mosaic-y, kind of like different, that's cool. I love that idea. You could utilize that too with older, where they build about themselves, or build your interests, build your future. I mean, if you connect with a person who really loves Legos, they're going to be all about that. They're going to love that. Okay, so these are some of the things that I did. We talked about feeling recognition and what are the different feelings. And then their follow-up activity with Legos after this series was over was build a feeling. It can be any feeling, but I want you to build a feeling. It can be happy, sad, and I review what the feelings are. And then I just let them kind of run with it. Some of the kids struggled with this because it was too open. Other kids were in. So if I have a group that's particularly lower or they're struggling, I will have them do a group activity more so than individual builds, because I think it helps with kind of getting those creative juices flowing. But if it's an older group, I will do a lot more individual builds when it comes to stuff like this, if I'm not specifically working on teamwork and things like that. But these are some of my favorites. I feel proud because I climbed to the top of the mountain, and then this guy said that he was happy because he's playing video games with his family. And again, the details, he used windows for the TV. This one box just happened to have the mountain in it, and they made that work with their scene. This one was, the penguin is trying to get him. And so my follow-up question is, well, how does that make you feel? Because I don't want to project a feeling onto it. He said, oh, it makes me feel funny. I'm like, oh, cool, that's a good one. That makes me feel funny too. And then, tell me about your build. What's going on here? This guy's surrounded. Tell me about this. The guy in the middle is scared because he's surrounded, is what the kid said. Now, this next one is an example of where a student spoke about something that was connecting to his home that was a little bit intense. And so as that table, it brought up a lot of discussion pieces that we were able to discuss at that table. But this is my house, but I'm feeling scared because the police are there. What an interesting thing that I would not necessarily say if police were at my house. And so that definitely opens up some discussion pieces. And then the next one, I'm scared because I'm in the road and a car is coming. And this prompted me on, I teach personal safety a lot with the younger kids, especially basic personal safety. And it would be really cool to have maybe the older kids build some personal safety scenarios that I could then use in the lessons that I could pull out, in this scene, what's not safe about this, that kind of thing. And then also in coping skills and talking about coping, one of the ways is, what is a happy place that you can go to if you're feeling anxious? What's something that makes you feel happy? It could be a real place or it could be a creative place. It's up to you. And so these are some of the builds that came from that. They're riding in the park, and he's riding a dirt bike up there, and then any place by the water, she says. She's just standing in blue. It can be as easy as that. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. This is one of the examples that I love because these are two students who normally are not engaged or they're not involved in the lesson. My ELL student that I'm thinking of, if he is paying attention, you wouldn't necessarily know it because he's not engaged, he's not talking at his group, he's not doing the things that you would normally say, oh, he's in this lesson, he's raising his hand, he's involved. But Legos, he's in. And so this was something that he was right on top. This SPED student in particular, this is a sweet girl, and she never, ever talks. So if I was just doing lessons, I wouldn't necessarily get any participation from her, but she built this and did a beautiful job, and I was able to cheerlead both of them. That is such a good build. Oh my goodness, I feel peace just looking at that scene, you know, in her little face. She's lighting up, so it's definitely works with those kids that aren't necessarily normally involved. And then I've got this one, the Peaceful Place. She said I would have my headphones, and hers is more of like an imaginative place. It's not an exact place. And that was an individual time with a student. And then this other one, Peaceful in Bed, he's got the Lego pulled over top of him like a sheet. So cute. So then I also do some teamwork, and these are huge, and I definitely think these could work with older kids as well if you're trying to address working together, conflict resolution, but they get a challenge, and this challenge was build a park. And so they had to work together to build a park, and whatever they wanted it to be, whatever they wanted it to look like, they had to agree and build their park. This is a challenge for kids to work together, and we all know that, but this is a creative way to do it. So there is conflict. I'm walking around and I'm helping them solve conflict. It's purposeful. I'm doing that on purpose. I have another challenge with only the older, because the younger, it's too much. But the older, I tell them, you're going to do a team build, and each person is going to put a piece down. But here's the challenge. You're not going to talk about what you're building, and you're not going to talk to each other. So you can only put one piece at a time. And it is a disaster. And it's supposed to be, because I want them to know you have to communicate. You have to tell what you want to do and what your needs are and what your vision is. And so it's supposed to be bad. So if the principal was walking by at that very moment, she'd be like, what in the world? They are not getting along in there. But that's the point. I want it to be a little bit intense to figure out, okay, this is something that we need to work on, and it's more productive. The same class, different group, build a park, and they decided together they were going to build a water park. And one of the things that a kid said, it was so cute, and he is an autistic kid, and he said, we feel happy at our water park. You never get dry at this water park. And it's just really, really neat. And these are third graders. Both of these examples are third graders doing a team build together. At the end of team builds, I let the class walk around and they present their park, or they present whatever the build was, the third challenge. And again, this is hitting on some more of those ASCA mindsets and behaviors where you communicate and you tell people about what you build. I let the groups ask questions about their park. What is this at the park? And they're telling them about it. It's very diverse, and it's not just guys talking or just girls. It doesn't matter where they're from, or if they have lots of money or if they don't have any money. It just doesn't matter. They're all engaged and doing the Legos. Some younger challenges that I've done, instead of building a park, build a bridge. And they had to build a bridge that could hold a person. And then also build the tallest tower. It was a first grade challenge. And I'm surprised about how challenging that was, because they wanted it to build their towers different. I would have just been like, all right, tallest, go. You know, start building up. But just building the tower and deciding how their tower was going to be, it took some time. So a way you could really make it cute, I found this online, where you could like put a water at each table, and then they could visualize the bridge. Might be more helpful for some of those kids who are struggling with what I'm asking them to do. And then it's now your turn. This is going to be your last build opportunity. And as a group, I'm going to give you a few minutes, so it's not a lot of time. So you can't spend a long time talking this out. You got to make your decisions. But you are either going to build a bridge, a park, or a calm place as a group. And you have to use your Legos that you have in your bag. And some of you might have to be creative. You might have to pretend one piece is something that it doesn't look like. All right, you can go ahead and start your build.
Oh yeah, there can be a gate. It can go.
The tire swing.
Oh yeah, I love that. I can't get my Legos apart there. That's what we're gonna build over. We basically just have to build the legs, right? So you need more of those. Here, let's do 2 of these. Okay, here's the legs. We're gonna build the bridge. And we'll do the bridge.
How did you get all of your Legos?
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you some ideas.
Okay, because I was like looking on Facebook Marketplace, but apparently I don't have great Wi-Fi.
No, yes, I will tell you some of my tips.
Okay.
It's completing the task. I'm gonna say, do any like little ones? Would it say they're like flowers or something? I don't know.
Like a umbrella-y thing?
Oh,
like
yeah, that'd be cute.
Like a,
Yeah.
Yeah, a shade or a...
I mean, it's going to hang out, but it'll at least connect enough.
Yeah.
Well, that one thing was for...
Is it going? Is it there?
There it is.
Now.
Boom.
Now.
Done.
And we will imagine that the other seat is on the other side. I don't know if there's another one in there.
All right, go ahead and wrap up, finish up your build. I saw so much goodness. There's no way I can keep this all to myself. So I definitely want you to share your what you built. So we won't maybe have everyone go for time's sake, but a lot of you, we'd love, the camera wants to see your build and tell us what you chose. If you chose a bridge, a park, or a calm place. So would anybody like to go first? They're all so good. Like you should be proud of your build.
We'll go first. You want to go first? Let's go first.
You want to go first?
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
go first.
We got the mic. Tell us about your build.
I'll do it.
I'll hold it.
Okay, we built a calming place. We have a stream, and we have a chase lounge, a fire pit, some trees, a charcuterie board, and wine.
Is this a charcuterie board? Oh my gosh. I love it so much. That's so good.
Oh yeah, it's on a Lazy Susan too, yeah.
I love it. Back there in the back, I had a bridge with a working car going over top of it. Tell us about your build.
Yes. We also have a drawbridge over the Black Sea, so you can just see it's working. Yes, we do have a car that goes over it. So, yeah, that's what we got going on over here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good job. And someone noted they didn't have wheels.
Or a fire pit.
You do not have the same things, and that's on purpose. It's forcing you to be different and creative. Maybe over here, pick on some folks over here. Yes.
So for all of you underachievers, we have a bridge and it has a barge. So we're more of the simplified version, no Black Sea or anything like that.
They had a bridge and then a barge is going underneath. There's another bridge that has a sailboat over here. One of y'all, that was so cute. We need a park. I know there's a park here. Tell us about your park.
All right, so we have a bridge, we have a bridge that goes to the, what was this called?
The merry-go-round.
The merry-go-round, okay? And then we have a castle that's in the sand. So yeah, and we can't forget about this. I'm gonna lift it up a little bit. That's gonna take everything else off of the park, but that's okay. We have our seesaw. So there you go.
With a chair and everything. Is there anybody else who'd love to share? Maybe on this side. I don't think we heard anybody on this side in this group. Come on, y'all had some good stuff over here.
So we did some good teamwork because we had 3 different bags right around here. So we all looked into our own bags and decided to work together. And we built all 3. It started off as a park. And then we looked in our bag and we were like, oh, this is a cool piece. So we built a bridge too. And then we all decided, water is our calm place. So
There you go. It meets all three.
But it's got like a sprinkler and it's got like a little water feature. It's got a very dangerous bridge over all of it, and a tree with a jewel.
Love it. I love it. You guys are great, and you guys are great examples. We got another one over here. Great examples of this is what it is. It's beautiful, and we would talk about how was it working as a team and things like that. Let's hear from y'all on what you guys did.
We built a beach with a boat out on the water. Our beach is equipped with a lifeguard. There's a flamingo along the shore. And we have some cocktails, and a palm tree.
Nice. And it looks like it's in Canada.
Yeah, that's the lifeguard flag.
Oh, that's your lifeguard flag.
That's our lifeguard flag. Preferably our beach would be warm, but.
Oh yeah, true. Thank you guys for sharing your Lego builds and your amazing creativity. I love it so much. So let's talk about some logistics of all of this. I had several people ask about how I got my Legos. How do I have all these amazing Legos? I'm going to tell you. And also, what are some things I've learned along the way that I hopefully have learned them so you don't have to make the same mistakes that I've made as I've been doing and working with Legos. So always go over your expectations before you start. This helps you maintain integrity of your lesson and your Legos. So, and then you can reference it. Hey, remember at the beginning we talked about the rules? What was rule number 1 again? Build what I say build. Are you building what you're supposed to be building? It needs to be really clear that this is purposeful play, purposeful building, but it is not free build. Now there are some times that I do free build and they know that. But most of the time I do not. And so they need to understand that this is not when we're playing. This is not a reward build. This is on purpose. So some of my rules that I say is when the building time is up, you stop building. And then you wait for your turn to speak. Always let them share at their table what they built so they can have a moment to share with the group. I tell them they have to be kind to themselves. It's okay, you're still learning how to build. If you don't have the perfect pieces, you need to be kind to yourself. Be kind to each other. If you think someone's build is dumb, and I'll even say that, if you think someone's build is dumb, would that be the nice thing to say? No, we shouldn't say that. Keep control of your bricks. I'm going to talk about how if they're being wild and their bricks go flying, it's hard to find them. So if you drop a brick, you need to immediately pick it up. And then whisper voices. It can get rowdy with Legos. Kids are excited. But for those kids, that stimulus is too much. You got the Legos clashing and they're trying to think, and then you've got people yelling and shouting. It gets out of hand really quick. So the rule is they have to whisper voice. They're not talking to the table across the room. They're talking to their table. There's no right or wrong build. I tell them if someone's copying your build, that just means you really helped them get their mind working. It is okay for them to have a similar build. Maybe they were struggling and what you said popped a memory in their head. And so it is okay if it looks like someone else's. Build what I say to build. Again, that jumps back to that's one of the big rules. Put the people and their tiny little cute people items in the people bag. So each of my boxes have a bunch of random Legos, but then there's also baggies, and in those baggies are all the little people parts, all the cute things. Like someone over here had a wheelbarrow. I think it was your table. That wheelbarrow would be in the people bag because it's cute and goes with people, because otherwise that stuff gets missed in the box and you can't find it, and that's where they can really get creative. Okay, and then at the end, taking apart their build. This is maybe one of the hardest things. They put their heart and soul in it, just probably like y'all. You've just put your heart and soul in your build, and to take it apart. So the way that I've addressed this, and it's gone pretty well, is one, I tell them it's just a rule. We got to take it apart so then the next group will be creative. If you leave your build, they won't be creative. They'll use your build. And then I also tell them that I'll take a picture. So I go around and I take pictures at the end. I've almost never had a student ask for that picture later. But I keep them on my phone for a little while, and then I transfer them to my Google Drive, and if they need me to send it to them to make them feel better, I will. Individual builds, if you were working with a student individually, you might leave it up for a week or so, a week or two, especially if you're going with that student through a thing. But with the understanding that they'll get a picture of it at the end. But if you start collecting everyone's builds, you won't have any supplies left, you won't have any more Legos, and it's just part of it. They gotta take them apart. So I've only had a few students really lose it with that. And it's just to be ready for it, and you do some coping skills and meet with them at a different time. I say, okay, just leave your build, it's fine. We're gonna line up, you don't have to take it apart, and then I might meet with them on their own to talk about how to handle things like that. So I always have a building schedule posted so they know where they're at in the lesson. I go over the expectations, then they get the challenge. So some of the challenges, I have Lego cards that I've used that I'll pull, all right, I'm gonna pull it out, and they're all waiting, what's it gonna be? And then I pull it out. I've also found things like this online where it's like a spinny and it tells you like, build a castle, build a rainbow, build a maze. So I've used stuff like that depending on what the lesson is. Then they get a chance to think, just a moment. It's not a lot of time. Remember, I only have 30 minutes, so it's not a lot of time, but I think that helps if they have a minute to think and people aren't just digging in the Legos. It's too much for some of the kids. They need a minute to think about it. And then they get build time and then a share and listen at the end, and then they take it apart. It's fast. Building rules are also those are the expectations that are referenced, and they will be up in the class. And so if a kid is being really wild, I'll say, hey, check out rule number 3. Make sure you're following rule number 3. But build what I say to build. Be kind, stay calm, be creative. And when I talk about being creative, some of y'all had this issue with your bag. Maybe I told you, and I'll tell them this, maybe I told you to build your family at home. And you have a dog. Well, there's not a dog Lego. Well, I'm gonna make this red brick my dog. And so you gotta be creative, and it's gonna be next to, this is Fido, and he's a good dog, and he's gonna be with your family. So they need some freedom sometimes that it doesn't have to be the right piece. They can make any piece whatever they want it to be. Just like a lot of y'all were doing with the park, and you had your merry-go-rounds and things like that. And your charcuterie board, golly, that's so cool. So here's some logistics, my Legos. This is my amazing collection. These are boxes, and I have 6. In my table, in my room, I have round tables. And so I have 6 tables in the room, 4 to a table. And the box goes in the middle. They're rectangular on purpose. I didn't want them to be deep because I wanted to be able to find the Legos. If you do deep buckets, it's too hard to find the different Legos. These are also Legos that my sister gave to me, this is just full of Legos. And then these are the Legos I've gotten from like SIP funds and stuff like that. My principal gave me some money one year. This is where I started, and this is where I got. And so I'll show you guys how I got these Legos here too. So get your minds thinking about how are you gonna get some Legos. Here's some other storage ideas if you like it super clean. I found this on IKEA. And they have different sizes, they stack, they're actual Lego boxes are so cute. So if you're into that kind of thing, you like your room to look cute instead of this craziness, then there's an option. I've seen people do it where they do it by colors, or also there's a lot of teachers that have those little roller carts, and you could do that with your individual. You'd have each little drawer has Legos in it and things like that. This is a lot cleaner version of what I kind of have. Looks so nice and neat. And then again, this is someone who's color coded them. I don't think that's necessary unless you were gonna use them, for example, build me a feeling and use the colors that you feel or something. You could make it work with feelings or something. But here is also some other Lego. You can buy these on Amazon, but again, you'd have to have funds and things like that. That's not something we just have a lot of. But I will say they are cute because they are Lego containers, and then they stack like real Legos, and that's super fun. And if you put the Lego out on the table, they would think that's really cool. So that's an option too. So how do you get your Legos? So my Legos came from my sister, but then also my PTO. So I had this vision. I wanted to make Legos a lesson and be able to use them in a lesson, but I didn't have Legos to do that with. So I was trying to figure out, well, if I buy one box every year with my $50 that I get, then I might be able to get it in 6 years. And it just came to my mind, well, why don't I talk to the PTO? This is a really cool idea. The PTO might be on board with this. And they were. So I talked to the PTO and I said, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to have Legos for every table. I don't even really know what that means. I have no idea what it's going to cost. I haven't even looked at it. And the guy on the PTO, which never happens, there was a guy on PTO that year, but there was a guy on PTO and he's like, I love Legos and I'm part of groups and they sell it in bulk and we will give you money to do this. They were just totally in. And that is how I got the blessing of the boxes for each table. Now, that's not saying that's what you have to do. You could spread it out. You could try for a grant. You could talk to your county about it. You could say, I've got some great ideas, but I need the supplies. I need money for that. My principal is really great. She would have given me money, probably not enough to supply my class, but she would have given me money to do that too. Every year I would have got a little bit until I got what I needed, but it just worked out. I was really blessed in that situation. You can build it up over time. You can get the cheaper Legos, but don't do it. They're not good. The LEAPS program did this one year. It was just sad. They were popping off. They wouldn't stay together, or they'd be so stuck that you'd never take them apart. I bought some people because I wanted more people stuff. And Lego people are expensive. So I was like, oh, this is like a bag on Amazon and they're cheap. They'll be great. I get them. Half their arms don't stay in there. Their heads fall off. It just wasn't good. So you need to get the good stuff. And it's an investment because they're going to last longer than we are alive. I mean, they're going to be around forever. So I think Legos are a great investment to just get along your way. You don't have to have all the cool Legos that I have. It helps to have some people stuff. That definitely helps with creativity. So I recommend getting that. And there are groups. There are Facebook groups, like the PTO guy knew of these different groups you can get involved with. There's also websites where you can order bulk used Legos. I didn't say I want these Legos and I want them to look like this. They were literally just bulk. And I just dumped some in each container and whatever came in the container came. So you can do the same if you get some bulk Legos. Here's some resources and ideas. This is Derek, the person who wrote the books. This is his website, and he has made a lot of stuff free. So if you're looking for some ideas of how to do an individual or small group, he's got a lot. It's not the books for free, but lots of interventions that are in the books are on his website for free. And you can print them out, and they're colorful and everything. This is also something that he's made free on Teachers Pay Teachers and on his website. But it's like just different ideas and so many great ideas that you could kind of get your creative mind. If you're like me and you struggle a little bit with what I'm going to do, this kind of gets that creative mind going. This is that autism piece that I spoke of a moment ago at the beginning. And it is play therapy where they do it in the groups and it tells you about it, but it also talks about how beneficial it is. You can, of course, get training. It would be more of a therapeutic model than a school counseling model just because of the time. The groups are supposed to be an hour and things like that. It's not necessarily something we can do, but it is helpful, maybe even in arguing of why you need some funds to maybe get your Legos going because it is inclusive and it includes others. Another article, this is from Autism Parenting Magazine, another online article talks about purposeful play. And in that article, it just talks about using Legos on purpose. And it's just, again, great points, things that I've discussed, but then also other things specific to autism. I found this Lego librarian and online, and it's like the librarian is hooked up with Legos, but this could be a perfect counselor one where they have to pull a disaster card and fix the problem. And you could make the disaster cards could be counselor-ish. You could make it your own and definitely make it a creative thing where they had to kind of work together on the fly of like, oh no, you just built your island, now what happened? How are we going to solve this problem? This was, I love Worry Says What, and in this story, the she listens to the worry and it gets bigger, but when she stops listening, the worry gets smaller. And so in counseling in a small group, you could, or individually, you could have them build their worry monster, and then they could do the activities that were in the book and talk about how to get their worry monster smaller. They could talk to their worry monster in a concrete way. And you can get Legos that have lots of extra eyes and things like that. That's not necessarily something that I have right now at my disposal, but if you were gonna make monsters, I think you should. Get you some eyes. Then there's also just, I was trying to make a joke, we're not supposed to use teacher pay teachers, but someone was like, shh, don't tell anyone. But there's so much good stuff on teachers pay teachers too. And because Lego is a brand, a lot of times if you search building bricks or building blocks, you'll find other things. But you could make your whole room Lego themed if you wanted to, and with the Lego feelings and the mood charts. You could do some solution focused counseling there with the mood chart with your Lego faces. I've referenced the Hulk. I found this on Teachers Pay Teachers. It says like a social story where it talks about he has anger, and then it has activities that you could do if you want to meet with a kid about anger. And you'd have your little Hulk Lego to really make it fun, and you'd have your other normal Lego when he's not angry. But in the book, I have them up here for if you want to come and check them out later, but Thor is in there and the Black Widow and stuff like that. So it's really connecting with those kids that are into Marvel. Some things to watch for. Stealing is something that is an issue, unfortunately. So the way I've addressed this is I don't put Legos in there that are special to me. If I had a special precious Lego, I wouldn't put it in there because it's probably going to leave at some point. But then also what I do is I tell them, hey, we're done. Check your pockets. Make sure none of those Legos jumped in there. This is your chance to get that Lego back in the box, and just try to kind of make it kind of funny about it. But if a kid is playing with a Lego later on the day, usually the teacher notices and says, hey, where'd you get that Lego? And so usually they get caught. I had put up a wanted poster once because I lost a Lego that I liked. It was a king Lego, and I put up a wanted poster and the king was returned. And so it, just you just kind of have to make it work. You got to watch out for bad attitudes. Playing with the younger kids, they want to play. It's really hard for them to follow what you've asked them to do, just like anything else. So showing them, you stop the session, say, hey, we're playing right now, but I want us to build this, and we'll have free time a different time. A different day will be free day. Or I might say, tell me about your build. And if they are creative enough to make what they're building work with what I asked them to build, then I let it go. Kids getting wild, Legos going everywhere, you got to stay on top of it. This is not the lesson that you walk away and sit down. You need to be roaming the whole time. And then running out of time is an issue, and you want them to be able to close it out for themselves. You want them to be able to discuss it as a group because that's part of the skills you're trying to work on. And then also you are wanting them to have time to put away their build. And if you don't do that and you're like, oh, it's time to go, we gotta go, it's madness. And that is probably my biggest issue because it's just really hard to fit it all in. So some lessons I've learned: introduce those rules. The very first Lego time, I'll show them the box before they have the box. This is what's in the box. This is the people bag. I kind of show it to them so they know what to expect and what we're doing. And I also discuss how we're playing with a purpose. We're building to learn, or we're building to share. We're building for teamwork. We're not building just for fun. And sometimes we'll do free builds, but you have to do what I say. You kind of go over that stuff ahead of time. And then I do let the students free build first, so they can see what's in the box and see where their minds take them. Maintain your Legos throughout. I go through ever so often on a box, and I will go through and I will put people stuff in the people bag because they never end up back in the people bag even though I asked for them to. And I'll just clean it up. Don't add music. I tried this. I thought it would be so cute to have music playing in the background, but it was too much. And some of the kids were so stimulated. Same thing with the timer. I think timers are helpful, and they need to be able to see their time so they know how much time they have left. But don't do those cute timers that have interactive things, like the people running. It's too much. The kids, do I look at the TV? It's just too much. So I've learned that don't do all that. Legos are cool on their own. And then there's been times when I was just like so impressed. Some of these pictures, blown away. And I've learned that some kids don't want you to share their work. And I know that as a counselor anyway, but sometimes I get excited. And so I always ask now, hey, this is exactly what I was looking for, or what a creative idea. Can I share it with everyone? And I only share if they say I can. That way they don't feel uncomfortable. So your to-do list, get you some Legos, make some rules and expectations, and then also keep it simple. Just have fun with it, learn just like I did. It's gonna be like, well, that didn't go over the way I thought it would. We gotta rework that. And you figure it out along the way and what works. So questions, comments, we are pretty much out of time. I do later, if you want to come up, there's some stuff that I've, like these are partner builds that they do rock, paper, scissors, and then they build on their picture. And then I've got the books that Derek I talked about his books, and then also the Hulk story if you wanted to look at it for later. But do we have time? Is there any time? Was there a question, anybody? Thank you so much for letting me speak. I loved it.